Captain Jinha stood on the bridge of the stellar horizon, watching the stars blur past through the main window. His ship was not pretty, but it was his. The cargo vessel had carried goods between star systems for 20 years. Today was supposed to be a simple run from the Kepler colonies to the Vega trading posts. "Captain," called Quan from the engine room through the COM system. "All systems are working fine. We should reach Vega in 6 hours," Jinha nodded to himself. Quan was a good engineer, even if he worried too much about everything. The Centaurian had been with the crew for 5 years now. His blue skin and 4 arms made him perfect for fixing the ship's complex machinery. The bridge door opened with a soft hiss. Yuki, the ship's navigator, walked in. Her Altarian features were sharp and elegant, with silver hair that seemed to glow in the bridge lights. "Captain, we need to talk about our special cargo," she said quietly. Jinha turned to face her. "What?" "About it? The stasis pod in Cargo Bay 3? My people have been asking questions. They want to know what we're carrying." Jinha sighed. The crew had been curious about the sealed cargo bay for months. Only he knew what was inside. Only he had the access codes. "It's just a medical transport," he lied. "Nothing to worry about?" Yuki's silver eyes studied his face. "Medical transports don't need military-grade power cells. They don't need the kind of life support systems I see on the power readings." Before Jinha could answer, the ship's alarm began to sound. Red lights flashed throughout the bridge. The main screen showed multiple contacts approaching fast. "Pirates," Yuki said, her voice tight. 6 ships. They're coming from the asteroid belt." Jinha felt his stomach drop. The neutral zone was supposed to be safe. The Trade Federation patrols were supposed to keep the shipping lanes clear. "Can we outrun them?" he asked. Yuki shook her head. "They're faster than us. And they're already in position to cut off our escape routes." The COM system crackled to life. A rough voice filled the bridge, speaking in the common trade language. "Cargo ship Stellar Horizon, this is Captain Krieg of the Crimson Nebula. Stop your engines and prepare to be boarded. Do not resist and you will not be harmed." Jinha knew that was a lie. The Crimson Nebula Syndicate was famous for being cruel. They took what they wanted and left nothing behind. "Captain," Quan's voice came through the COM, scared. "They're launching boarding pods, 3 of them." Jinha closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about his crew. Good people who trusted him to keep them safe. He thought about the cargo they carried. Luxury goods worth millions of credits. Then he thought about the stasis pod in Cargo Bay 3. "Yuki, take the crew to the emergency shelter in the lower deck," he said. "Lock yourselves in and don't come out until I say it's safe." "What about you?" she asked. "I have something to do first." Jinha ran through the ship's corridors. The Stellar Horizon shook as the boarding pods attached to the hull. He could hear the sound of cutting tools as the pirates tried to break through the airlock. He reached Cargo Bay 3 and entered his access code. The heavy door slid open with a deep rumble. Inside, the bay was dark except for the soft blue glow of the stasis pod in the center. The pod was larger than most. It had been built for long-term storage, the kind used for deep space exploration. But this one was different. This one had been modified with systems that Jinha didn't understand. He walked to the control panel and looked at the readouts. The occupant was healthy. All systems were working. After 300 years, everything was still perfect. Jinha had found the pod drifting in space 5 years ago. His ship had picked up its emergency beacon during a routine cargo run. When he opened the pod's database, he couldn't believe what he found. Inside was a human. Humans were supposed to be extinct. Their home world had gone silent 3 centuries ago. Most people thought they were just stories now. Thales told in bars about the violent species that had conquered star systems before disappearing, but Jinha's grandmother had been alive during the human wars. She had told him stories that most people didn't believe. Stories about humans who refused to surrender. Stories about humans who could turn any situation into a weapon. "They don't think like us," she had said. "They don't follow the rules of war or logic. They just keep fighting until they win or die. And they don't die easy." The sound of metal tearing came from the direction of the main airlock. The pirates had broken through. Jinha looked at the stasis pod one more time. The human inside was small compared to most species. Female, according to the records. Her name was Harin. She had been a soldier in something called the Earth Defense Force. He could hear footsteps in the corridor outside. Heavy boots? The pirates were searching the ship. Jinha made his decision. He pressed the emergency wake-up sequence. The pod began to hum with power. Systems that had been sleeping for centuries came to life. The blue glow became brighter. Inside the pod, Harin's body began to move slightly as the revival drugs entered her system. "Come on," Jinha whispered. "Wake up." The cargo bay door exploded inward. 5 pirates in heavy armor rushed in, weapons ready. They were Vorthans, large and brutal, with thick gray skin and tusks that jutted from their lower jaws. Well, said the lead pirate. "What do we have here?" Jinha stepped in front of the stasis pod. "Stay back. This is medical equipment." The pirate laughed. "Medical equipment on a cargo ship?" He raised his weapon. "Step aside, little captain. We'll take whatever we want." Behind Jinha, the stasis pod systems reached full power. The revival sequence was almost complete. Inside the pod, Harin's eyes began to open for the first time in 300 years. The pirate pushed Jinha aside and looked at the pod. His expression changed from greed to confusion. "What is that thing?" he asked. Jinha smiled grimly. "That's a human." The pirate stared at the small figure in the pod. "Humans are extinct." "No," Jinha said as the pod's seal began to break with a soft hiss. "They're not." The lid of the stasis pod slowly opened, and Harin sat up, blinking in the bright lights of the cargo bay. She was smaller than the pirates expected, with pale skin and dark hair. She looked fragile compared to the armored warriors surrounding her, but when she looked at them, her eyes held something that made the pirates step back. The fire that had made humans the most feared species in the galaxy before they vanished into legend. Harin's eyes opened slowly. The world around her was fuzzy and strange. Her body felt heavy, like she was moving through thick water. The revival drugs were still working through her system, bringing her back from the deep sleep that had lasted 3 centuries. She tried to remember where she was. The last thing she could recall was the Deep Sleep Initiative. Earth was dying. The enemy fleets were closing in. Humanity's last hope was to scatter sleeping humans across the galaxy, hoping some would survive to carry on their species. "Look at it," said a rough voice nearby. "It's so small." Harin turned her head toward the sound. Her vision was clearing. Now she saw 5 large figures in armor standing around her. They had gray skin and tusks, Vorthans. She remembered them from the war files. "Is it really a human?" asked another pirate. "Has to be," said the leader. "Look at those eyes." "My grandfather fought in the human wars. He said you could always tell a human by their eyes." Harin sat up slowly in the stasis pod. Her body was weak, but she could feel her strength returning. The revival drugs were designed to bring her back to full combat readiness as quickly as possible. Behind the pirates, she saw a man in civilian clothes. He was smaller than the Vorthans, with kind eyes and worried expression. He looked like he wanted to help her but didn't know how. "You're the captain," she said to him, her voice rough from centuries of sleep. Jinha nodded. "Captain Jinha of the Stellar Horizon." "You've been sleeping for a long time." "How long?" she asked. 300 years? Harin closed her eyes for a moment. 300 years. Everyone she had ever known was dead. Earth was probably gone. She was alone in a galaxy that had moved on without her. "Enough talking," said the lead pirate. "Get out of that pod, human. You're coming with us." Harin looked at him calmly. "No," the pirate laughed. "No? You're one small female against 5 armed warriors. You don't have a choice." Harin stood up slowly. She was wearing the standard. Deep sleep suit, thin and flexible, no armor, no weapons. Just her body and 3 centuries of anger. "You're right," she said. "I don't have a choice." "But neither do you." The pirate's expression changed. Something in her voice made him nervous. "What do you mean?" You made a mistake coming here, Harin said. You should have stayed away. It's just one human, another pirate said. The stories are just stories. Harin smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. What stories? The lead pirate raised his weapon. Stories about humans who wouldn't die. Stories about humans who turned defeats into victories. Stories about humans who made the impossible look easy. Those aren't stories, Harin said. Those are warnings. The pirate pulled the trigger. Harin moved. The energy blast passed through empty air where she had been standing. The pirate's eyes went wide as they tried to track her movement. She was faster than they expected, faster than should be possible. For someone who had just woken up, she reached the first pirate before he could fire again. Her hand struck his throat in a precise movement that made him drop his weapon and fall to his knees. Gasping for air, the second pirate turned his weapon toward her, but Harin was already moving. She grabbed a tool from Jinha's tool belt and threw it with perfect accuracy. The heavy wrench hit the pirate's helmet with a crack that echoed through the cargo bay. Impossible, breathed the third pirate. That's what they all say, Harin replied. She moved between them like a dancer, but every movement was deadly. The pirates were bigger and stronger, but they were slow. They thought like warriors following the rules of combat they had learned. Harin didn't follow rules. She made them. The fourth pirate tried to grab her with his massive hands. Harin let him get close, then used his own strength against him. She twisted his arm and sent him crashing into the cargo containers. The fifth pirate was backing toward the door, his weapon shaking in his hands. You're not natural, he said. Humans can't move like that. You're right, Harin said, walking toward him slowly. Normal humans can't, but I'm not normal. She could see the fear in his eyes now. The same fear that had made humans legendary across the galaxy. What are you? He whispered. I'm what happens when humans decide they're not going to lose, she said. I'm what happens when humans refuse to give up. I'm what happens when humans get angry. The pirate ran. Harin let him go. She wanted him to run. She wanted him to tell others what he had seen. Jinha stared at her in amazement. How did you do that? Training, Harin said simply. Earth Defense Force, we were the best humanity had to offer. But you just woke up after 300 years. Harin touched a small device on her neck. Revival drugs. They're designed to bring us back to full combat readiness. We knew we might wake up in dangerous situations. She looked around the cargo bay. The four pirates were unconscious but alive. She could have killed them easily, but she had chosen not to. Are there more? She asked. More what? More pirates. On their ship? Jinha nodded. At least 20, maybe more. Harin walked to the fallen pirates and began taking their weapons. She tested each one, checking power levels and ammunition. What are you doing? Jinha asked. What I was trained to do, she said. Protect humanity. And right now, you're the closest thing to humanity I've got. She handed him one of the weapons. Can you use this? Jinha took the weapon nervously. I'm not a fighter. You don't have to be. Just point it at the bad guys and pull the trigger. The ship's system crackled to life. It was the pirate who had run away. Captain Krieg, we have a problem. The human ... It's not what we expected. A new voice came through the deeper, more dangerous. What do you mean? It fought 5 of us, alone and won. There was silence for a moment. Then Captain Krieg's voice came back, full of anger. 1 human. Against 5 Vorthans? Impossible. I saw it with my own eyes, Captain. This isn't just any human. This is something else. Harin walked to the panel and pressed the transmit button. This is Harin of the Earth Defense Force, she said calmly. You have attacked a vessel under my protection. You have 1 chance. To leave, take it. Krieg's laughter filled the cargo bay. 1 human giving orders to the Crimson Nebula? You must be joking. I don't joke, Harin replied. I warn. This is your warning. We'll see about that. All units, prepare for full assault. I want that human alive. Harin turned off the and looked at Jinha. Where's the rest of your crew? Emergency shelter, lower deck? Good. Keep them. There. She checked her weapons one more time. How many ways can they get onto this ship? 3 airlocks. Main cargo bay, engineering section, and the bridge. Harin nodded. Then we need to move. They're coming with everything they have. How do you know? Harin smiled that cold smile again. Because that's what I would do. But they're making one mistake. What's that? They think I'm trapped on this ship with them. She started walking toward the door. They're wrong. They're trapped out there with me. Jinha followed her, still amazed by what he had seen. In 5 minutes, this small human had changed everything. The pirates who had seemed so dangerous now seemed like prey. Harin, he called. She stopped and looked. Back at him. My grandmother told me stories about humans. She said you don't know when to quit. Harin's expression softened for just a moment. Your grandmother was wise. We don't quit. We don't surrender. We don't give up. Her voice grew hard again. And we don't forget. The sound of cutting tools came from multiple directions. The pirates were trying to break in through all 3 airlocks at once. Harin listened to the sounds and smiled. Let them come, she said. It's time to remind the galaxy why humans were feared. The pirate ship Bloodfang was in chaos. Captain Krieg stood on his bridge, watching the recordings his surviving crew member had brought back. The small screen showed Harin moving through the cargo bay like death itself, taking down 5 armored warriors with nothing but her bare hands and quick thinking. Play it again, Krieg ordered. The recording played for the 4th time. Krieg's officers watched in silence as the human moved with impossible speed and precision. She didn't fight like other species. She didn't follow the normal rules of combat. How is this possible? Asked his second-in-command, a scarred Vorthan named Brutus. I don't know, Krieg admitted. But I want that human. Dead or alive, she's worth more than any cargo we've ever taken. He activated the ship's long-range communications. Within minutes, he was connected to every pirate crew, bounty hunter, and criminal syndicate in 3 star systems. This is Captain Krieg of the Crimson Nebula, he said. I'm sending you all a recording. The cargo ship Stellar Horizon has a human on board. A real, living human, the first one seen in 300 years. The responses came back quickly. Excitement, disbelief, and greed filled the comm channels. How much is it worth? Asked someone. More than you can imagine, Krieg replied. But I'm claiming it first. Any crew that helps me take this ship gets a share of the prize. Within an hour, 12 pirate ships were heading toward the Stellar Horizon. The word was spreading across the galaxy like wildfire. A human had been found. On the Stellar Horizon, Harin was turning the cargo ship into something it was never meant to be. She moved through the corridors with Jinha and Quan, studying every system, every room, every weakness. This is impossible, Quan said, watching her work. You're trying to turn a cargo ship into a warship. I'm not trying, Harin replied. Pulling apart a power junction box, undoing it. She had been working for 6 hours straight. Her body was still weak from the long sleep, but her mind was sharp. She could see possibilities that others missed. Every piece of equipment on the ship had a purpose beyond its design. The mining laser in cargo bay too, she said to Jinha. Can you move it? It's built into the ship's structure. It's for cutting through asteroids. Perfect. We're going to make it mobile, but that's impossible. The power requirements alone, ... Harin looked at him with those burning eyes. Stop saying impossible. Humans don't believe in impossible. She had already done things that shouldn't work. The ship's cargo containers were now arranged to create defensive positions. The luxury goods they were carrying had been turned into improvised armor. The ship's emergency oxygen system had been modified to create a smokescreen. Your species is insane, Quan said, but he was smiling. These modifications shouldn't work. But they do work, Harin replied. That's the difference between humans. And everyone else, we don't ask if something should work. We make it work. She was in the engineering section now, looking at the ship's main power core. The Centauran engineer watched nervously as she began making changes. You're overloading the system, he warned. I'm optimizing it, she corrected. Your people build things to last. Humans build things to win. The ship's power output increased by 30%. Systems that had been running at safe levels were now running at maximum efficiency. It was dangerous, but it was effective. How do you know how to do this? Quan asked. Earth Defense Force training. We had to learn to fight with whatever we had. Sometimes that meant turning farming equipment into weapons. Sometimes it meant turning cargo ships into fighters. She moved to the next system. Every modification she made was simple in principle but brilliant in execution. She wasn't just changing the ship's capabilities. She was changing its entire purpose. The pirates will be back, Jinha said, and they'll bring more ships. I know, Harin replied. I'm counting on it. You want them to come? I want them to underestimate us. They think they're hunting one human on a cargo ship. They don't realize they're walking into a trap. She finished her work on the power core and moved to the ship's communication system. Her fingers flew over the controls, accessing frequencies that most ships couldn't reach. What are you doing? Jinha asked. Sending a message, she said. To anyone who might be listening. She began broadcasting on emergency frequencies, sending out a signal that would reach every corner of the galaxy. This is Harin of the Earth Defense Force. I know there are more of us out there. More humans sleeping in the dark between stars. It's time to wake up. The galaxy forgot about us. It's time to remind them who we are. She paused, then continued. 2. All pirates, slavers, and criminals listening to this transmission, we have returned. We are not the same species you remember. We are stronger. We are smarter. We are more dangerous than we ever were. She looked at Jinha and Quan, then back at the communication system. This is a warning to all who would prey on the innocent. We are humanity, we are coming, and we will not be stopped. She ended the transmission and turned to face her companions. Now we wait, she said. Wait for what? Jinha asked. For them to come, for them to attack. For them to learn what happens when you hunt humans. The ship's sensors began picking up. Multiple contacts, 12 ships, all heading their way. The pirate fleet was larger than expected, but Harin didn't seem worried. They're coming, Quan said, his voice tight with fear. Good, Harin replied. Let them come. She walked to the main view screen and looked out at the approaching ships. Each one was larger than the stellar horizon. Each one was armed with weapons that could destroy a cargo ship in seconds. How can you be so calm? Jinha asked. They outnumber us 12-1. Harin smiled that cold smile. Because they're thinking like pirates. They want to capture us. They want to take us alive. That gives us an advantage. What advantage? They have to be careful. We don't. She activated the ship's internal communication system. Yuki, this is... Harin, I need you to plot a course through the asteroid field. Maximum speed. That's too dangerous, came the reply. The asteroids will tear us apart. Not if we're smart about it. And not if we use them as weapons, she turned to Quan. How long until the mining laser is ready? 10 minutes, maybe less. Make it 5. She turned to Jinha. How well do you know this ship? I've been flying her for 20 years. Then you know every sound she makes, every vibration. Every weakness, of course. Good, because we're going to use all of that knowledge to stay alive. The pirate fleet was getting closer. Harin could see them on the sensors, spreading out to surround the stellar horizon. They were following standard attack patterns, just like she had expected. They're trying to trap us, Quan observed. They think they are, Harin replied. But they're actually doing exactly what I want them to do. She moved to the pilot's seat and began inputting commands. The ship's course changed, heading directly toward the largest asteroid in the field. You're flying us straight at it, Jinha said. I know exactly what I'm doing. The asteroid was massive, easily 10 times the size of their ship. It would crush them if they hit it. But Harin had no intention of hitting it. Mining laser ready, Quan reported. Fire on my mark, Harin said. The pirate ships were closing in. She could see them on the view screen now, their weapons charging for the attack. Now, she said. The mining laser fired at the asteroid. The massive rock began to break apart, sending huge chunks flying in all directions. The pirate ships had to scatter to avoid the debris. Brilliant, Quan breathed. That's just the beginning, Harin replied. She turned the ship toward the next asteroid and fired again and again. Each shot created more debris, more chaos, more problems for the pirates. They can't get a clean shot at us, Jinha realized. And, they can't risk using their heavy weapons, Harin added. They might hit the asteroids and cause an avalanche. She was turning the entire asteroid field into a weapon. The pirates found themselves trying to fight in a constantly changing battlefield where every move could trigger a disaster. This is impossible, came a transmission from the pirate fleet. How is a cargo ship outfighting 12 warships? Harin activated the communication system. This is Harin, she said calmly. You wanted to hunt a human. Now you know what that means. The first pirate ship exploded as a massive asteroid chunk, set in motion by her mining laser, crashed into its engine section. 1 down, she said. 11 to go. The hunt had begun. But the pirates were learning too late that they were not the hunters. They were the prey. The asteroid field had become a graveyard. 3 pirate ships were already destroyed, their wreckage floating among the rocks. The remaining 9 ships were spread out, trying to find a way to attack the stellar horizon without triggering more avalanches. Captain Krieg watched from his bridge as the small cargo ship danced between the asteroids like it was born there. Every move was perfect. Every shot from their mining laser created exactly the right amount of chaos. How is this possible? Brutus asked for the 10th time. It's not, Krieg replied, his voice tight with anger. 1 human cannot outfight 9 warships, but the evidence was right in front of them. The stellar horizon was not just surviving. It was winning. On the cargo ship's bridge, Harin was in complete control. Her hands moved over the controls like she was playing music. Every system on the ship was working perfectly, pushed beyond its limits but somehow holding together. Incoming missiles, Yuki reported from the navigation station. I see them, Harin replied calmly. She turned the ship toward a cluster of small asteroids. The missiles followed, but at the last second, Harin fired the mining laser. The asteroids exploded into fragments that tore the missiles apart. Impossible, breathed Quan, watching from the engineering station. Stop saying that word, Harin said with a slight smile. Humans don't believe in impossible. She had been fighting for 2 hours straight. Her body was tired, but her mind was sharp as a blade. This was what she had been trained for. This was what humans did best. 4 more ships coming in from the left, Jinha reported. Let them come, Harin said. She had been waiting for this moment. The pirates were getting frustrated. They were making mistakes. And Harin was ready to use every mistake against them. The 4 ships came in fast, trying to corner the stellar horizon against a large asteroid. Their weapons were charging, ready to fire everything they had. Harin waited until they were committed to their attack run. Then she did something that made everyone on both sides stop breathing. She flew the cargo ship straight up. The stellar horizon climbed away from the asteroid field, heading into open space. The pirates followed, thinking they finally had her trapped in the open. What are you doing? Jinha asked, his voice filled with panic. We're leaving our cover. Trust me, Harin said. The 4 pirate ships came after them, their weapons finally able to target the cargo ship without hitting asteroids. They fired everything they had. Harin spun the ship in a spiral, dodging the energy blasts by inches. The stellar horizon wasn't built for this kind of flying, but somehow it held together. You're going to tear the ship apart, Quan shouted. No, Harin replied. I'm going to save it. She had calculated everything perfectly. The 4 pirate ships were so focused on chasing her that they didn't notice where she was leading them. Harin turned the ship sharply to the left, then dove straight down. The pirates followed, their weapons still firing. They were so close now that they couldn't miss, but Harin had one more trick. She fired the mining laser straight ahead, hitting the largest asteroid in the field. The massive rock began to crack and split. Huge chunks of stone started falling toward the pirate ships. Pull up, came a frantic transmission from one of the pirates. Too late, the asteroid debris crashed into 3 of the 4 ships. Metal screamed as hulls were torn apart. Explosions lit up the darkness as power cores overloaded. The 4th ship managed to avoid the falling rocks, but it was damaged and alone. Surrender? Haran said over the communication system. You're outnumbered. The pirate pilot laughed bitterly. Outnumbered? You're 1 ship against 1 ship. No, Haran replied. I'm 1 human against 1 pirate. Those aren't the same thing. She turned the stellar horizon toward the damaged pirate ship. The mining laser was still charged and ready. Last chance, she said. The pirate ship's engines flared to life. It tried to run. Haran fired the mining laser at an asteroid directly in the ship's path. The explosion sent debris flying in all directions. The pirate ship flew straight into the cloud of rocks and disappeared in a ball of fire. 7 down, Haran said quietly. 5 to go. On the Bloodfang, Captain Krieg was in rage. 7 of his ships were gone. 7 crews were dead. And 1 human was responsible for all of it. All remaining ships, fall back to minimum safe distance, he ordered. Captain, Brutus said carefully, maybe we should consider retreat. Krieg's hand moved to his weapon. Retreat? From 1 human? That's not just any human, Captain. Look at what it's done. Look at how it fights. Krieg stared at the main screen, watching the stellar horizon floating among the asteroid debris. The small cargo ship looked harmless, but it had just destroyed 7 warships. Sir, came a voice from the communications station. We're receiving. A transmission. It's from the Syndicate. Krieg activated the communication system. The face of Warlord Vex appeared on the screen. Vex was the leader of the Crimson Nebula Syndicate, and he was not happy. Krieg, Vex said, his voice deadly quiet. Explain to me how you have lost 7 ships to a cargo vessel. The human, Krieg began. The human is 1 individual on 1 ship. You have 5 ships remaining. Each one is more powerful than their entire vessel. You don't understand. This human fights like nothing we've ever seen. Then stop fighting like pirates, Vex said. Fight like warriors. Use your heavy weapons. Destroy everything in that asteroid field if you have to. But the human is valuable. Worth more alive than dead. The human is worth nothing if you can't capture it. And right now, you're losing to a cargo ship. Vex's face disappeared from the screen. Krieg looked around his bridge. His remaining officers were watching him, waiting for orders. Sir? Brutus asked. Krieg made his decision. All ships, prepare for full assault, heavy weapons, maximum power. We're going to turn that asteroid field into dust. What about capturing the human alive? If there's anything left after the bombardment, we'll take it. If not... Krieg's expression was hard as stone. At least we'll have our revenge. On the stellar horizon, Haran was monitoring the pirate communications. She heard every word of Krieg's new plan. They're going to use their heavy weapons, she told Jinha. They're going to try to destroy the entire asteroid field. Can we survive that? Jinha asked. Not if we stay here, Haran replied. But we're not staying here. She was already plotting a new course. The asteroid field had served its purpose, but now it was time for the next phase of her plan. Where are we? Going? Quan asked. To even the odds. Haran said. She activated the ship's communication system and sent out a signal on all emergency frequencies. This is Haran of the Earth Defense Force. Any human vessels in range, please respond. I need backup. The response came immediately. 3 signals, weak but clear. This is Marcus, awakening from deep sleep. I'm in the Tau Ceti system. This is Elena, just came online. I'm near the Vega colonies. This is David, systems coming online now. I'm in the Outer Rim. Haran smiled. Her message had worked. Other humans were waking up across the galaxy. All units, converge on my position. We have pirates to deal with. How many? Asked Marcus. 5 ships, heavy weapons. They want to capture us. Understood. We're coming. But Haran knew they wouldn't arrive in time. The battle would be over before her backup could reach her. She looked at the 5 remaining pirate ships on her sensors. They were positioning themselves for a final attack. Their weapons were charging to maximum power. Jinha, she said quietly, I need you to know something. What? If we don't survive this, make sure the galaxy remembers what happened here. Make sure they know that humans came back fighting. We're going to survive, Jinha said firmly, because you're going to find a way. That's what humans do. Harun looked at him with surprise. You sound like you believe that. I do believe it. I've seen what you can do. I've seen what happens when humans decide they're not going to lose. The pirate ships were moving into position. Their weapons were almost ready. Harun took a deep breath and put her hands on the controls. Then let's show them what humans are really capable of, she said. The final battle was about to begin, and Harun had one more impossible plan. The 5 remaining pirate ships formed a perfect circle around the stellar horizon. Their heavy weapons were fully charged, ready to turn the entire asteroid field into burning dust. Captain Krieg stood on his bridge watching the small cargo ship that had cost him so much. All ships, fire on my command, he ordered. The weapon systems hummed with deadly power. Enough firepower to destroy a small moon was aimed at one human and her allies. Fire, Krieg commanded. The space around, the stellar horizon exploded with light. Energy beams and plasma cannons fired from every direction. The pirates had finally stopped trying to capture the human alive. Now they just wanted her dead. But when the light faded, the stellar horizon was gone. Where is it? Brutus shouted, staring at the empty space. Impossible, Krieg breathed. Nothing could have escaped that barrage. Sir, called the sensor operator, I'm picking up a single life pod. It's drifting toward the blood fang. Krieg's eyes lit up with cruel joy. The human survived. She's trying to escape in a life pod. Should we destroy it? No, bring it aboard. I want to see this legendary human before I kill her. The life pod was pulled into the Bloodfang's cargo bay. 20 armed pirates surrounded it, weapons ready. Captain Krieg walked slowly toward the pod, savoring his moment of victory. Open it, he ordered. The pod's hatch opened with a soft hiss. Inside, Harun lay still, her eyes closed. She looked small and helpless, nothing like the warrior who had destroyed 7 ships. So this is the great human warrior, Krieg said. With a laugh. She looks like she's already dead. He leaned closer to examine her. Wake up, human. I want you to see what happens to those who defy the Crimson Nebula. Harun's eyes snapped open. Hello, she said calmly. Krieg stumbled backward in surprise. How are you still alive? Your ship was destroyed. My ship? Harun sat up slowly. Oh, you mean the stellar horizon? That wasn't my ship. What do you mean? Harun smiled that cold smile. That was my decoy. Before anyone could react, she was moving. The weapons she had hidden in the life pod appeared in her hands. The pirates had expected a helpless prisoner. Instead, they got a fully armed human warrior in the heart of their ship. Impossible, Krieg said, reaching for his weapon. There's that word again, Harun replied. The cargo bay became a battlefield. Harun moved between the pirates like a force of nature. She wasn't just fighting them. She was hunting them. Every shot was perfect. Every movement was calculated. Every decision was made with the cold precision of a human who had decided that her enemies would not survive. Stop her! Krieg shouted, but his crew was already falling. Harun didn't just defeat them, she demoralized them. She made them afraid. She showed them what it meant to face a human who had nothing left to lose. In less than 5 minutes, the cargo bay was silent, except for the sound of Harun's breathing. Now, she said, looking at the few survivors, where's your bridge? Meanwhile, the real stellar horizon was hidden behind a large asteroid. Jinha and his crew had watched the battle through their sensors, amazed by Harun's plan. She used the life pod as a transport, Juan said in wonder. She let them think they had destroyed us. She's boarding their ship, Yuki added. Alone. Jinha activated the communication system. Harun, this is Jinha. What's your status? I'm visiting our pirate friends, came her reply. They have a beautiful ship. I think I'll keep it. You can't take on an entire crew by yourself? Watch me. The sensors showed explosions beginning to rock the Bloodfang internal systems. Or going offline one by one? Harin was systematically destroying the ship from within. She's doing it, Quan whispered. She's actually taking their ship. On the Bloodfang, Harin had reached the engine room. The ship's engineers tried to stop her, but they were mechanics, not warriors. They fell back before her advance. Please, one of them begged. Don't kill us, we surrender. Harin looked at them for a long moment. I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to give you a choice. What choice? You can stay here and die when your ship explodes, or you can help me take control of this vessel and live to see another day. The engineer's eyes went wide. You're going to blow up the ship? Only if I have to, but I'd rather capture it. A ship this size could carry a lot of humans. You're insane. I'm human. There's a difference. The engineer made his choice. He began showing Harin how to access the ship's control systems. The bridge is heavily fortified, he warned. Captain Krieg has 30 armed guards up there. Good, Harin said. I was worried this would be too easy. She made her way through the ship's corridors, turning every system she encountered into a weapon. The lights went out. The gravity fluctuated. The air recycling system began pumping out smoke. What's happening? Came panicked voices over the ship's communication system. A human is in the ship, someone screamed. She's destroying everything. One human can't take an entire ship, Krieg's voice replied, but he sounded less certain than before. Tell that to the engine room crew, came the reply. They're working for her now? Harin smiled as she listened to the chaos. Fear was spreading through the ship like a virus. The pirates were learning what their ancestors had known during the human wars. Humans were not just dangerous because they fought well. They were dangerous because they never gave up. They were dangerous because they turned every situation into an opportunity. They were dangerous because they made the impossible look easy. She reached the bridge level. 30 armed pirates were waiting for her, their weapons trained on the entrance. Come out, human, Krieg called. Face us like a warrior. I have a better idea, Harin replied over the communication system. She activated the ship's emergency systems. All the blast doors sealed automatically. The pirates on the bridge were now trapped. You can't hide forever, Krieg said. I'm not hiding, Harin replied. I'm waiting. For what? For my backup to arrive. The ship's long-range sensors began picking up multiple contacts. 3 ships were approaching fast. Not pirates. Something else. This is Marcus to Harin. We're here. This is Elena, ready for battle. This is David. What are your orders? Harin's smile was visible even though no one could see her. Surround the remaining pirate ships. Don't let any of them escape. What about you? I'm going to finish what I started. She cut the power to the bridge. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows as she opened the blast doors and walked in. Krieg and his remaining crew were waiting, but they looked different now. They looked afraid. One human, Krieg sighed, his voice shaking. One human destroyed my entire fleet. Not destroyed, Harin corrected. Conquered, there's a difference. She looked around the bridge at the pirates who had hunted her. They were the same ones who had thought humans were extinct. The same ones who had believed the old stories were just myths. You wanted to capture a human, she said. Congratulations. You found one. What do you want? Krieg asked. I want you to send a message to every pirate, slaver, and criminal in the galaxy. Tell them that humans have returned. Tell them that we remember what they did to our people. Tell them that we're not looking. For peace? What are you looking for? Harin's eyes burned with the fire that had made humans legendary. Justice, she said. 3 hours later, the Bloodfang was under human control. The surviving pirates were in the cargo holds, prisoners. On their own ship? The other pirate vessels had been captured or destroyed. Jinha stood on the bridge of the Bloodfang, watching Harin at the captain's chair. She looked small in the massive seat, but her presence filled the entire room. The galaxy is going to change, he said. Yes, Harin replied. It is. What? Happens now? Harin activated the communication system. Her voice reached every corner of the galaxy. This is Harin of the Earth Defense Force. To all humans in deep sleep, it's time to wake up. To all species who thought we were extinct, we're back. To all those who prey on the innocent, your time is over. She paused, looking out at the stars. We are humanity. We survived the destruction of our world. We survived 3 centuries of exile. We survived because we never gave up. We survived because we never forgot who we are. Her voice grew stronger. We are the species that turns defeat into victory. We are the species that makes the impossible possible. We are the species that refuses to die. She stood up from the captain's chair, and we're coming home. Across the galaxy, stasis pods began to open. Humans who had slept for 3 centuries were waking up. They heard Harin's message. They remembered who they were. The age of human exile was over. The age of human return had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again.